It's the 21st century, and it's time for you to break free from the old ideas, the old beliefs, the old shackles that have been holding you back and keeping you bound in misery and failure. It's time to learn the truth about your power and about what's really going on in the world. Everything that you see and experience is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. Nothing more, but nothing less. Learn the truth. Change your life. Change the planet. Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reality Changer Radio. I am your host, Dave Dickey, and it is Tuesday, January 21st, 6:30 p.m. And tonight I'd like to talk about a subject that goes really deep in every one of our lives as far as trying to figure out exactly what's going on and how you can have a better, more prosperous, more abundant life. And I name it, Why Me? And it's a syndrome that we all get into with the blaming and the pointing fingers. And it comes from our upbringing and their upbringing and the past. And it's always about why me? Why don't I have it as good as Joe? Why does Harry get to sit back and not do anything and get it more than I do? You know, why can't I ever get my bills paid? Why can't I get a raise? Why can't I ever get ahead? And when we're in those why me modes, our old school programming comes back to haunt us. And the answers to those why me questions are actually the exact same reason that you have those questions to start with. The old school programming teaches us that hard work and opportunity go hand in hand. And that's not necessarily true. I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you do too, that don't do as much work as you and have a lot more. And then you have to look at those people and ask yourself, why me? I know a lot of people throughout my years of working in various places that would come to work stone and never have anything happen to them. And then you go, why me? You know, here's this guy, he comes into work, he's not in his right head or whatever for working, and he gets to keep his job. And he doesn't work that hard because he is stone and he doesn't care. And he keeps his job and keeps his job, and every time I turn around, I'm told to work harder. Why me? These things that we get into all have their root in our old school programming, where we're taught that you have to act a certain way or you won't be appreciated. You have to act a certain way or you won't get ahead. You have to say certain things, wear certain things, look a certain way, or you're not going to get what you want out of life. And many, many times the sayings of, well, not with that attitude, mister, or you're going to do it my way or the highway, or you're never going to get ahead in life thinking about things that way. Those kind of things come about because the people saying them have the limited belief system from the old school programming. And these things just perpetuate more and more of it. And it all stems down to the worry aspect and the guilt aspect and the self-doubt and the depression of, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm too fat. I'm too ugly. I'm this, that, and the other. Why me? All of that has the same source, believe it or not. And it's all because you were taught that you had to do things a certain way or you weren't going to get what you want. And that's basically it in a nutshell. I could go into hours of details about different topics, and everyone out there would start going, oh, yeah, I heard that. But let me make it clear. They all have the same base root, and that is the programming you received as a child, the influences that your family had on you, your close friends, your mentors, all contributed to a belief system that is controlling your very existence. If you have something to write with, I suggest you write this down. Your belief system is what dictates your thoughts. Your thoughts are based on your beliefs. How you think about something creates feelings about it. And those feelings ultimately create your reality, because that's the vibrational energy that is emanating from you into the universe and will cause more of what you're feeling. Okay? A great example of this is your car breaks down on the way to work and you're worried that you're going to get fired because you're late to work. So you start putting that energy out there. Now, you wouldn't be worried about being fired if you hadn't already had the belief that being late to that job is going to get you fired. Now, it may sound a little too simple, but sometimes it really is just that simple. The belief that you have is going to cause the thoughts which generate the feelings which generate what's going on. Okay? You need to take a step back sometimes and think about how you were brought up and the influences around you that have affected how you go through your daily life. 99% of us have been taught to react instead of act. 99% of us have been taught to sacrifice ourselves for others as a showing of support and love. But 99% of us have also not been taught self-esteem and self-love. And those two things are missing across the board throughout the world. And really, when you don't include that as part of the strong part of the regimen that you teach children, then you end up with things such as guilt-based teaching. And guilt-based teaching and programming is, if you don't do what I tell you you need to, something bad is going to happen. Now, that something bad could be you get in trouble, or somebody doesn't like you, or somebody says something about you that's negative, or the person that you really don't want to hurt is going to be hurt. All kinds of stuff like that. And that is guilt-based teaching. And guilt-based teaching is one of the main reasons why people fail when they get older. Because they constantly are trying to please someone else. They are trying to live someone else's version of reality. When the fact is you can't and succeed. You cannot do that because we all only control our own realities. We can have an influence on each other. We can make each other believe that they need to do this and need to do that, and thereby change their belief system. But make no mistake about it, for the same reason and the same way that other people can change your belief system, you can change it just as well. And what we strive to do, unfortunately, and I don't know how this ever came about, because thousands and thousands of years ago we weren't like this, but we strive to almost make clones of ourselves, and we justify it with attempting to show people the right way because we know better. We know better. We don't know any better. We really don't. We feel we've been given a role and we feel we need to do something special. Parenting is a great example. You'll hear a lot of sayings like, well, there's no parenting book that comes with the kids and all this other stuff, as if you need to know something special in order to raise children. The fact of the matter is, and I hope parents are listening to this, the fact of the matter is, you don't need to know anything special in order to raise children that have self-esteem, self-respect, love for others, and are highly successful. You don't need to know anything special. We think we need to know something special because we all run around without those qualities. And we strive to find the answers on how we can impart those qualities into our children so they, quote unquote, have it better than us. The real thing, and I hope everyone writes this down, you don't need to know any more than what you need to know for yourself. Unfortunately, most of us don't know what that is, which is why there's millions of child books, millions of professionals, millions of experts who will tell you 27 ways for Sunday how to raise the best children. And they still are living in a limited belief system. Because if they weren't, they would get it that all you're doing is imparting knowledge onto another human being. People want to make it special because you are in charge of the welfare of that human being. And because they have a spiritual connection with you. That's the only specialty. The specialty ends there. Is it special? Oh, hell yeah. It's super special. And nobody can ever make it not special. I mean, that's what it is. But because we don't have the qualities we wish to impart upon children, we constantly strive to find books and tapes and teachers and seminars on how to show us how to do that when we're not even doing it for ourselves. And when it all falls apart, we sit there and we go, why me? Why me? You are not getting a bad break as opposed to someone getting a good break. We all have the same power. We all have the same opportunity to access the source energy that we are connected with for millennium and into eternity. Every one of us. Where the issue starts is when we don't recognize that we're asking a question that has this, that the answer is why we ask the question. Why you? If you were understanding of the dilemma that is surrounding your situation, you wouldn't ask why me. You would be asking, how can I get through this and change it forever? Because it's not about you versus somebody else. It has nothing to do with somebody else. It all has to do with you. It's not about somebody getting a lucky break and you getting the shit end of the stick. It's not like that at all. It's about you not having enough knowledge on your side in order to break free from the chains of the old school programming, which are holding you back, which are causing you to use old school thinking and actually ask the question, why me? I'll give you a great example that I had. I was 17 and I was a hotshot. I'd been working since 15 and a half because my parents were divorced and my mother stayed drunk most of the time, and besides that had psychological problems. But at 15 you don't see all that. You just know that somebody has to work and pay the bills. So I had been working for a year and a half and I thought I was pretty hotshot. I was 17 and had an attitude, and it was the 60s. And so I worked at a silkscreen shop with 7 other guys. It was actually like 71. And, it was all hippies, and it was the 70s and the whole thing. I never smoked pot except for parties. I thought it was not the right thing to do when you were at work. All these guys would come in stoned, or they'd smoke pot at lunch and all this other stuff, right? And I didn't care. Everybody did their work. It's not like work didn't get done, okay? And so we had to go to, this was in Boston. We had to go to New York for a technician class to learn how to repair the machines. So 4 of us bundled up, and we took a van and we went for a weekend seminar at this place in New York. So during the seminar, of course, we're all cool and everything. Afterwards, I was studying, and I was actually making repair manuals for each one of the machines, and a teaching manual to teach others how to repair the machines. My coworkers were partying all weekend long. And I thought, and they're trying to get me to party, and I'm like, no, guys, come on, we got to do this, right? So I was kind of proud of myself that I didn't succumb to that, even though I wanted to. I felt it was really important, So I thought, well, when we get back, these guys, and I had to teach these guys, right? I had to teach these guys. Let's not forget that, because they weren't studying. So we get back, and my hope was that I would get promoted to the shop lead man. This was my hope, because hard work and studying and nose to the grindstone and all that old school programming had me in rapture almost, because I was sure that I was going to get promoted and these guys were going to work for me, because they didn't even know half the manual and I wrote the manual. So we're back, and it's the next day to work, and we're talking to the managers about everything, and I said, yeah, and I on my spare time I made these manuals for each one of the machines, and a teaching manual for people to actually learn how to run the machines, to fix the machines. And they were like, oh, that's really cool, and so I actually ran a tech class there. And I thought everything was cool. So 2 weeks go by, and I have to throw in there that these guys used to party with the managers off-site. But I didn't care, As far as I was concerned, all they cared about was making sure that somebody knew exactly what was going on. And I was instilled with that. My dad was World War II. I was instilled with that knowledge that, yeah, do what you have to do, and people are going to shine on you, right? And everything's going to be great. So a couple of weeks go by, and one of the guys that really only knew stuff because I helped him along became my boss. And I was flabbergasted. He actually got the position. Okay? Now, he didn't know any more about running the machines than I did. He didn't know any more about the product than I did. If he knew less about overall about the whole job than I did. And yet he became my boss. And I sat back and I whined to myself. And I said, hell, why me? Why me? And of course, because I had old school programming, I started pointing fingers. I started blaming him for being a suck-up. I started blaming our boss for not recognizing my talent. I started blaming his boss for only considering the fact that this guy parties with him and I don't. I was blaming everybody. Okay? I was blaming everybody because that's what I was taught to do. What I was taught was if you do everything right and it goes wrong, it's somebody's fault. Somebody's out to get you. Somebody doesn't like something about you. There's somebody to blame. If you did everything you think you're supposed to do and it doesn't work, there's got to be somebody to blame. Something's not right. An old saying that my mother had, something's rotten in Denmark. And for you people out there that are in your 50s, you might have heard it. I don't know. But it was that was the way that it was taught. If you did everything you're supposed to do and it doesn't work, it's somebody else's fault. It's never your fault. Because you did everything you were supposed to do. How could you possibly have any responsibility in this? No, your hands are clean. Somebody stabbed you in the back. Somebody did something wrong. You didn't suck up to somebody when you were supposed to, but that's not how you're supposed to do it. No. In reality, here's what went on. The reality is these guys could have cared less about studying. They could have cared less about how much to run the machines, how much knowledge they had to run the machines. They were an open book. They didn't allow themselves, and probably this guy was the most here, didn't allow themselves to get caught up in the fear-based programming that I was totally immersed in. I had to succeed. I had to climb to the top. I had to get that promotion. And I would do anything I had to that I thought I had to because of my old school programming in order to get that promotion. And these guys were just leaving it alone and letting it go. And probably, now that I look back on it, probably because I was so uptight, and I know I was, you can look back on yourself sometimes and go, oh, whoa, glad I've changed. I was uptight because I wanted to show that I was more professional than those guys, because I believed that that's what people wanted to see, because it bothered me what other people thought of me and how I acted. And all I could think about was, why me? Why did I get the shaft? Why did that have to happen to me? Well, the reason it happened to me is because I cared too much and I worried too much. And I was based in old school fear-based programming. That's why it happened to me. It wasn't that guy's fault. It wasn't our boss's fault. It wasn't his boss's fault. It was nobody's fault. I mean, if you're going to pin the blame on anybody, it would be my programmers. But even they weren't to fault. Parents just do the best they can with the information they have, with the understanding that they're going to do a better job than their parents did. And that understanding comes from the why me situation and the old school programming. At a certain point that you're being handed a line of crap. That's where all those sayings come from, my kid's going to have it better than me. Because it was a load of crap. But the best thing you can do is refine it to where it looks better and hand off your load of crap to somebody else. That can stop once everyone starts to realize that A, you need the information just as much as a child does, and B, once you have the information and once everybody has the information, teaching children to be successful with self-esteem and self-respect and proper attitude and all this is not that difficult, because all you're really going to be teaching them is the methods you use on a daily basis for yourself. Does that make sense? Once you understand your position in the universe, and once you understand how to coexist with the forces at work that you don't have an option on being at work, once you understand how to coexist in a harmonious way with the universe, then that's what you teach. Okay? And if there's any books on parenting, it should be about that. There should be no more why me. Okay? You're struggling. You're having a hard time making ends meet. You're not getting treated right at work. All of this is because you've been taught to blame others for your failures. And I'm not saying, oh, you bastard, you're worthless. Not at all. You just haven't been given the right information. That's all. You're not broken. You don't have to be fixed. You're not anything except misguided. That's all. With the right information and time to allow yourself to change, because look at how long it took you to get where you are, it's totally reversible. Totally reversible. And are you going to slip now and then? Everybody does. Because we're vibrating on a material plane. Our origins are in the spiritual plane, which is a much higher vibration. So of course we're going to slip every now and then. But it's every now and then. And I do it myself. I slip. But then I come right back and go, oh, yeah, there I go. And I'm able to look back on myself. But trust me when I tell you this, I slip. My wife slips. And she's a Reiki master and Theta healing practitioner and all this other stuff. And she slips. So you never make yourself wrong. But here's what the trick is. To know enough about how to change so that you can recognize when you slip. You need to know the foundation of how you got here, how you got to where you're at. You need to know how that happened and why. Once you accept that, and once you understand that that's reversible, then as you're taking time to reverse it, you have a slip. You can analyze it. You can self-analyze it. And you can say to yourself, wow, I don't know why I caused that. I'll give you another great example of me. A couple of weeks ago, I was going to the gym. And I felt antsy. I don't know why. I didn't really go into it. I just wanted to go to the gym and work out. But the more I drove to the gym, it takes me about 20 minutes to get there. The longer I drove, the more antsy I got. And I could tell, because I'm now getting in touch with these feelings and when they happen, that it was irritating. And it wasn't a good space. But I thought, you know what, I'll just stick it out. I'll go have my workout and I'll get out of here. So wouldn't you know that in a year and a half that I've been going to this gym, I have never had any problems like other gyms. This is the UFC gym, and it's totally trained different. When you go to these other gyms, you get people talking all day long. They sit on the machine and they're on their phone instead of working out, and you're trying to, use the machine. You know what I mean? And a great thing, one of the things that used to bug me is people would leave a machine, it's open, they're over to the side talking to somebody. You don't even know that they were there. You go to use it and they go, hey, I'm using that. And I would get such a tood. Oh my God, I would get such a tood. And I'd be like, no, asswipe, you're not using it. You're not using it. And they'd be like, well, it's okay. You can go ahead and work in with me. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I love the fact that at this gym, for a year and a half, haven't had that issue. Well, this day that I'm talking about, a couple of weeks ago, I had this thing, and all I knew was that it was happening. I couldn't really pinpoint why. And so I'm in the gym, and I'm halfway through my workout, and I go to, and you're going to love this. I go to use a machine, and the machine next to it, two guys are there. One guy's sitting there, leaning on it, sitting, and another guy's standing there talking to him. And wouldn't you know, I go over there, And I sit down on the machine and I start adjusting the weights. And this guy goes, "Hey, I'm using that." And I look at him and I go, "No, you're not. You're standing there." "Oh, well, it's okay. I've got a couple more sets, but you can go ahead." And don't you know, I went right back to where I used to be. And I went, "You damn right it's okay." And I got a mood going. Okay? So I'm done with the machine, and I walk over to the side, and all of a sudden it hits me of what happened. I created that whole thing. I created that entire scenario. Because not once in a year and a half have I gone to that gym in a bad mood. And the first time that I do, look what happens. And I came home and I was laughing with my wife about it. I go, "You'll never guess what I created at the gym." I don't know why, but I created an idiot for some reason. But it's a direct cause and effect. My feelings directly impacted my reality, which they always do. And what happened was, because I was in a shitty mood, I got an idiot. Plain and simple. And those are the kind of things that once you understand where the negative stuff in your life actually stems from and the programming that got you there, then it's times like this that you can sit back and almost laugh at yourself in a sense, but understand you're still on a path. And you could sit there and go, "Wow, why did I do that?" My niece the other day says, "Boy, I'm in a crappy mood." And I looked at her and said, "Well, why would you want that?" And she kind of laughed. And she said, "What?" And I just shook my head and I said, "Don't worry about it." And I walked away. But the fact of the matter is, we create the days that we're having. You manifest 24/7. You don't have an option on that. And once you get a handle on that, and once you understand that's a real thing, then the desire to want to control that takes over. And once you actually get that you're in charge of what happens to you on a daily basis, then the why me just kind of goes away. It turns in from why me into why not me. Why not me? Why can't I have that? Why don't I have that? I better get that. I'm going to go get that. And the only thing stopping me is me. It's not his fault. It's not her fault. It's not their fault. The same thing with, people changing. "Oh, I don't know why they treat me so differently." They don't. And I know that's tough to hear, but they don't. It's you, and it's a reflection of you. It's your feelings that are creating everything. Okay? So the why me, once you understand where the concept comes from that creates that question, then you'll be able to understand how to deal with it. Okay? So take a moment and make sure that you think about how everything has played out in your life and how it has a direct impact on what's going on right now. And the next time that you find yourself saying, "Why me?" sit for a minute and think about why you're asking that question. Okay? Until next time, this is Dave Dickey signing out. And if you guys are in town this weekend, I'm doing a New Year's resolution and the law of attraction, manifesting with your connection to spirit, at the Owl's Lantern in Fullerton. And it's from 2 to 5 this weekend. It's on Saturday. And you can get all the information on my website, whatyouthinkiswhatyouget.com. Click on the classes button and all the information is right there. You can get advanced discount tickets up until Saturday, or you can wait and just show up and pay at the door. Okay? So everybody have an awesome life and an awesome week, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on Reality Changer Radio. My love to everybody. Bye-bye.